This is Gemara Bava Kama Daf Chof Vav. We pick it up on the bottom of Chof Amid Beis. We are on the last narrow line. I apologize for the lack of video. B'siyata d'shmaya, we're working on upgrading the computer, etc. Hopefully, that should take care of our problems. But now we're going back to the Machlokes Rav Tarfon and the Mishnah. The Chacham, not Rav Tarfon and the Mishnah, excuse me. Rav Tarfon and the Chachamim. Rav Tarfon learned the Kal V'Chomer. The Chachamim disagreed. And we should just for a moment before we begin, we should peek back to the Mishnah. The Mishnah back on Chav Daled Amud Beis taught us as follows. The Mishnah said we have a machlokes Rav Tarfon and the Chacham. Rav Tarfon holds that when we're discussing Nogach, Nogaf, Noshach, Rovat, Boat, Bershus Harabim, you pay Chatzi Nezek for all these forms of Keren. Bershus HaNizik, Rav Tarfon says you pay Nezek Shalim, whereas the Chachamim hold that no, even Bershus HaNizik, it's the same thing as Bershus Harabim, you pay Chatzi Nezek. On that detail, the Gemara is going to ask numerous questions, numerous Kal V'Chomers, trying to verify whether these dinim are accurate. So we begin on the last narrow line, asks the Gemara, V'tehei shein v'regel chayiv v'rshus harabim mikal v'chomer. Asks the Gemara, again, so we're not asking necessarily on the precise din of our Mishnah, but it's all going to stem from there. Asks the Gemara, shein and regel should be obligated Rishus Harabim from a Kal V'Chomer. What's the Kal V'Chomer? Uma Keren Sheb'Rishus HaNizik Eina Mishalim El Chatzi Nezek. Keren B'Rishus HaNizik, as we just said, according to Rav Tarfon Beis Nezek Shalem, according to the Chachamim Beis Chatzi Nezek, Rishus Harabim Chayeves, and yet Rishus Harabim they all agree is Chayev. Shein v'regel sheb'rishus hanizik, we know. U'b'ir b'stei acher mishalim nazik shalim in edim sheb'rishus harabim chayiv. Certainly they should be obligated b'rishus harabim. Answers the Gemara, what's your kasha? Amar Kra, the Torah says, U'b'ir b'stei acher. That's davka, that shein v'regel are chayiv b'rishus hanizik. V'loi b'rishus harabim. So says the Gemara, how are you asking that shein v'regel should be chayiv b'rishus harabim? The pasuk explicitly teaches me, U'b'ir b'stei acher, v'loi, and we're v'dayik v'loi b'rishus harabim. Continues the Gemara on Chavav Amir Aleph, Midei kuli kamrinan. No, you got it wrong. We weren't suggesting. The kasha was never that you should be obligated nezek shalem. And therefore you're asking, and therefore your teretz would make sense that what? We have a pasuk. Says the Gemara, Palga Kamrinon. We're suggesting that there should be a chiyuv of chatzi nezek, which wouldn't be a kasha from the pasuk. Amar Kra, so says the Gemara, we have a different pasuk. Says the pasuk, v'chatzu es kasvai. A pasuk with regard to Keren, v'chatzu es kaspa, you pay half. Kaspa shel zeh, v'loi kaspa shel acher. Says the Gemara, the diak is that only kaspa shel zeh, Keren pays chatzi nezek, v'loi kaspa shel acher, the v'shein v'regel will not pay chatzi nezek. So Kal V'Chomer, number one of the day, does not work, as the Gemara's medayik, a combination of bir b'stei acher, with v'chatzu es kaspa, v'kaspa shel zeh, only by Keren, is there v'chatzu, do you pay chatzi nezek, and not kasvei shalacher, and therefore the Gemara says we cannot suggest that shein v'regel should pay chatzi nezek. Continues the Gemara with another Kal V'Chomer. 3 lines down, Chavav Amar Aleph, loitei shein v'regel chayeves b'rishus hanizik elo chatzi nezek. The Gemara basically now flips it on its head and asks, let's say the reverse. Shein v'regel should only be obligated chatzi nezek mikal v'chomer. Mikeren, we should learn it from Keren. Uma Keren sheb'rishus harabim chayeves b'rishus hanizik Even though Karen has to pay B'Rishus HaRabim, yeah, B'Rishus HaNizik only pays Chatzi Nezek. Shein v'regel sheb'Rishus HaRabim are Petura, as we just finished saying. Ubir b'steiacher v'loy B'Rishus HaRabim. Ein oidin, is it not true? Should we not say Kal V'Chaimer sheb'Rishus HaNizik mishalim Chatzi Nezek? So ask the Gemara, Shein v'regel should only have to pay B'Rishus HaNizik Chatzi Nezek. Omar Kara answers the Gemara. Yishalem, says the pasuk Yishalem, which means Tashlumim Ma'alya. It says Yishalem by Shein V'Regel, and therefore it means Tashlumim Ma'alya, and not just Chatzi Nezik, and therefore Shein V'Regel. B'Rishus HaNizik will pay Tashlumim Ma'alya, will pay Nezek Shalim. Continues the Gemara asking, and the truth is, yesterday's daf and today's daf is a lot of math, meaning you just have to make all the dinim add up. So it's one of those things you just have to, maybe read and read again. Again, I know yesterday was a little bit faster. I apologize. We'll try to slow it down a drop. But again, a lot of what's going on over here is just making sure everything adds up. Continues the Gemara 10 lines down. Chavav Me'ala, first one line is Me'alya. V'loi te kerem B'Rishus HaRabim chayiv mikal v'chaymer. Now we go the other way. So Keren, which we know pays Chatzi Nezik, asks the Gemara, in Rishus HaRabim it should be Potter. Why? Uma shein v'regel Rishus HaNizik Nezik Shalem. Shein v'rezel pay Nezik Shalem Rishus HaNizik, as we just said, Tashlumim Alya. And yet Rishus HaRabim Petura, as we explained. Obir Beis Teyachev Rishus HaRabim. Keren B'Rishus HaNizik Chatzi Nezek. Keren Beis Chatzi Nezek Rishus HaNizik. Ein idea in Rishus HaRabim. It should be Potter. So answers the Gemara, Karen should be Potter Rishus HaRabim. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rav Yochanan, Amar Kra Yechatzon, as we've seen, Ein Chatzi Nezek, Chaluk, Loi Rishus HaRabim, V'loi Rishus HaNizik. There's no difference. Karen pays Chatzi Nezek in all scenarios. So that really wraps up part A of today, which are the dinim of Shein V'Regel being Chayiv Rishus HaNizik, Nezik Shalem, Tashlumim Alya, Potter B'Rishus HaRabim, B'Steiacher V'lo B'Rishus HaRabim, and Karen paying Chatzi Nezik in all scenarios of V'Chatzu as Kaspa, both B'Rishus HaRabim and B'Rishus HaNizik. Continues the Gemara, V'yei Adam, and Adam should be obligated by Koifer, Mikal V'Chaimer. Koifer being the payment if an ox kills a person. So ask the Gemara, and Adam Hamazik should be the same way. What's the Kal V'Chaimer? Umadach Shar. When it comes to Shar, She'noi Chayev Arba Dvarim Yet Chayev B'Koifer. A Shar does not have to pay the Daled Dvarim, which is only by a human doing damage. Nezik Sarit Boishavs and Boishes. And yet the Shar has to pay Koifer. Says the Gemara, Adam Shechayev Arba Dvarim Ein Oidin Kal V'Chaimer Shechayev B'Koifer. So ask the Gemara, Adam, if he kills someone, should have to pay Koifer. Answers the Gemara, Amar Kra, says the Torah, B'chol asher yusha, Kichol asher yushas olav. Whatever they assess against him, olav, V'lai ala Adam, specifically detailing that the payment of Koifer is olav on the animal, but not on an Adam. And finally, question number 5, Kal V'Chaimer number 5 for the day, asks the Gemara, V'yeshar chayev arba dvarim mikal v'chaimer. The flip of what we just said that Adam pays Daled Dvarim, Nezik Sar, Riba, Shevs, and Baishas, but doesn't pay Koifer. A Shar pays Koifer, so ask the Gemara, should have to pay Daled Dvarim. Explains the Gemara, Ma Adam she'ena chayev b'Koifer, as we just said. Yet, chayev arba dvarim, Shar shechayev b'Koifer, ein oidin kal v'chaimer, shechayev barba dvarim. Answers the Gemara, Amar Kra, says the Torah, Ish, and then the pasuk continues, Be'amisai. From there we darshan v'loy shar ba'amisai, that the unique payment of the Daled Dvarim is a din specifically by an Adam and not by a shar. So 5 potential Kal V'Chaimers, which the Gemara defends all of them. Continues the Gemara, Ibayi lehu, asks the Gemara, Regel shedarsa, a regel, a shar that damages with its leg, in the course of walking al gabe tinuk, bechotzer hanizik ma'u, but it's done in the property of the nizik. What is the halacha? Ma'u shetashleim kaifer. Is there a payment of kaifer? Kaifer being when an ox gores and kills a person. What if an ox damages a person via what? Via stepping on the child. Do we say it's just like Karen? Karen, keeping David trades also Zimni Orchei. Once a Karen is done 2-3 times, it comes to Orchei Mishalim Kaifer. Hachanami Loishnav, the animal through the course of walking steps on a child 2 or 3 times, it should have to be Kaifer. Delmar, no, there's a unique element of Karen, that Karen Kavanas Lahazik, the animal intends to do damage. Whereas Hayin Kavanas Lahazik, the animal never intended to do damage, just in the course of walking, it stepped on the child. Tashema, says the Gemara, I'll prove to you what the story is. Hechnes shayrai lachatzer balabayis, if a shar enters into the property of the balabayis, sheloi birshos, without permission. And what does it do? V'nochai lebalabayis, and it gores the balabayis, umeis, and the balabayis dies from the injuries of the goring of the shar. The halacha is ashar biskila, the shar we stone. The owners have to pay full damages, full kaifer for the killing of this person. Divrei Rabbi Tarfin. Says the Gemara, end of Brisa. From this Brisa, the factor of Tarfin says that if a shar entered into someone else's rishos, scores him, whether the shar was usual to do damage or not, whether it's tam, whether it's a muad, the shar pays kaifer shalim. Says the Gemara, Kaifer Shalim Betam Rav Tarfin Minali. Where does Rav Tarfin know that there's this concept of Kaifer even Betam, even if it was only damaged one time? Lam Mishom suggests the Gemara to Savlik Rav Yesi Aglili. The Rav Tarfin holds of Rav Yesi Aglili. Tamar, who holds Tam Mishalim, Chatzi Kaifer Rishas Rabim. Rav Yosef Glili holds that the tam, if it was damaged, was just a ram, and just like a tam, the first time an animal damages, it pays a chatzi nezik, or pay a chatzi kaifer. O ma'isi la mikal v'chayim ermi regel. So Rav Tarfin will subscribe to the same din, and therefore, if the animal steps on a baby and kills it, Rachmana litzlan, he'll have to pay. He'll have to pay kaifer, even by a tam. Says the Gemara. So Alma, what do we see? Ika kaifer beregel. What we prove in this brisa is that clearly it seems that there's an entity called kaifer, even by regel. So in our case, the same din should be. Amar Rav Simi min Hardai, says Rav Simi min Hardai, no. Tama, learn in the Mishnah, minizakin. Doesn't mean you pay kaifer. It means you pay from damages, the regel, ma'isla, we learn from regel. Says the Gemara, 1 second, regular damages of the regel apply to a fire. Says the Gemara, so mitamun, which an ish is potter from, but the regel will be chayiv. Bekelim, which a bar will be potter from, the regel will be chayiv. Malikelim. Shiashtamish, mikelim tamunim makeli, which is tamun, which the ish is potter. That applies by a person. After exhausting all options, says the Gemara, Shema Mina, Mi Kaifel de Regel Maisila, must be learning from Kaifer of Regel Alma. So what do we seek? A Kaifer Beregel, Shema Mina. The Gemara does indeed prove this Kaifer by Regel, and therefore in our case of the animal which steps on a baby and kills it, there will be payments of Kaifer, even though it was the damage of Regel, Shema Mina. And finally, we conclude, which we could guess called part A of today's daf. What you're saying is logical. Why? We're learning it out from damages of regel. We could ask, we could ask that those damages apply by regel, and kaifer does not apply by regel. Elav Shema Mina Mekayfer de Regel Ma'isla, not just regular Nizakan of Regel, but rather Kayfer of Regel. I'll make a Kayfer of Regel, Shema Mina, and that is the proof of the Gemara, and that's why in our case there will be payments of damages of Kayfer by Regel of this behemoth stepping on a baby and killing it. And we continue with the Mishnah on the bottom of Vavim and Aleph, which really starts a new sugya of Adam Hamazik. In particular, it's a continuation of that which we learned with regard to the Adam, with regard to the Muad that we were discussing of that Tezvav. But now we delve into the Adam portion of it. Adam Muad La'ilam, says the Mishnah. Bein b'shaygig, bein b'meizid. However a person does damages, it's always considered a muad, it's always considered that it was prone to damage, whether it was on purpose, whether or not. Bein ar, bein yashin, whether the person is awake or sleeping. And the Mishnah then plays out that sima is ein chaveira, if a person blinds his friend, or v'shiver has kalim, it damages his utensils. What's the halacha? Halacha is it's a muad. Mishalem, nezek, shalem, the owner pays for full damages. So says the Mishnah, the basic rule, Adam muad li'olam, in all scenarios. Says the Gemara, from the end of the Mishnah, what do we see? You blinded your friend. Tom yad, similar to shiver as kalim, to damaging his utensils. Mahasam nezikin, arba dvarim loi. The halach of damaging the utensils of someone else is you just pay for nezik. But there's no dalit dvarim. The dalit dvarim, nezik sa, riboy shevet, nezik sa, riboy shevet, and baishes, which is where the hay dvarim, we'll see which one we're not going to discuss, is only a din when you damage someone else. So says the Gemara, Avsime es in chaveroi, nezek in arba dvarim loi. The nezek you'll pay for, and not the dalit dvarim, sa, riboy shevet, and baishes. Says the Gemara, so from the fact that Simas Eina is put next to the case of the Mishnah of damaging a Keli, must be, that is the story. Continues the Gemara on the top of Chavavam and Beis, Minna Hani Mili. Where do you know this, din? Where do you know that even if the Adam Hamazik is damaging unintentionally, sleeping, etc., etc., where do we know that in all these cases he is liable? As the Tab Rashi speaks out, where do we know that even b'shaygig there's going to be an obligation to pay for damages? Amar Chizkiah, says Chizkiah. V'chein tana devei Chizkiah. Amar Kra, says the Pasik. Petza tachas petza, a wound for a wound. From the pasuk we learn out to lechayvoi, that one is obligated for what? Ala shoygei kemezid v'lo'ides keratzin. Ask the Gemara, how do you learn it out from this pasuk of petza tachas petza? Amibayla litin sar v'mokin nezik. That one has to pay for tsar, for the pain, even when there were other damages. That's what we learn out from nezik tachas nezik. Says the Gemara, no. Im kein lichtiv kura petza bi petza. My tachatz petza. Shema mina tarti. That's how we can learn out both dinim. So says the Gemara, that's how we learn out that there's nezek and there's going to be payment for tsar as well. Continues the Gemara, Amar Rabba. And this really we could call part 3 of today's shir, or part 4, depending how you broke up the first part with the Kal V'chaimers. Comes along Rabba. Rabba, 6 lines down, Chavavim and Beis, and now he's going to begin a very long list of different scenarios of damages, not with full cognizance. And what is the story? Amar Rabba. Case number 1, there's a stone sitting in your lap, and you don't realize that there's a stone in your lap. You stand up enough when it falls, and it damages, says the Brisa, says Rabba. Lin and Izakin, with regard to damages that happen through the stone, Chayiv, as we've seen, you got to pay for the damages, even though you didn't know about it. Lin in Arba Dvarim, Saripoy, Sheves and Baishes, Potter, as we've seen, that's only with intent. Lin in Shabbos, with regard to if this item was in Shabbos that you picked up the stone, etc. Melechas Machsheves Azra Ta'ira, It has to be with machshavos. In this case, you didn't know about it. Lidin galus. If one stood up and a stone fell on someone and killed him, the halacha says the Gemara Potter. There's no galus. Lidin eved, whether the eved would go free for the fact that he was damaged in such a scenario. This is plukta the Rashbag v'Rabbanan. This is a machlekes of Shimon Gamliel and the Rabbanan. What's the machlekes? 10 lines down. First one line is Titania. Titania. We learned in our brayso. Harishaya Rabbi Roifei v'Amar Loi. Kechaleni. The master, the doctor. David asks him to heal his eye. V'Simai, and he backs him blinds David. Chater Lishini. He asks him to fix his tooth. V'Epilon, he knocks it out. What's the halacha? Even though the master was trying to help the Eved, says the Raisa, Sichei Kabadain. The Eved laughs at the master. Opinion of Tanakama. Rashbag Oimer, of course, we have this in Kedushin. Says the Shimon Gamliel v'Shichasa. Ashiyikave l'Shichasa. The Eved only goes free if it's done b'kavana. Case number 1 of Rabbah, and that's going to be whether the Eved will go free or not, depending upon the Machlek of Shimon Gamliel and the Chacham. Hikerba, v'shacha, v'amad, v'nafla. He knew he had a rock in his lap. He was aware of it. And then he forgot about it and he got up and it damaged. What's the halacha in this scenario? Says the Gemara. Len yinizakin, again, you're chayiv ademula ilam. Len yidal dvarim, again, you're potter. Why? Because that's only with kavana. Len yin galos, in this case, you're chayiv. Why are you chayiv galos for killing a person in such a manner? Damar Kra says in the pasuk, bishkaga. From there we darshan mechlal. From there we see davla yediyah. Once there's some level of yediyah, of knowledge of the story, it's not called a shagig. If you'll be chayiv galos, v'havla yediyah, and there's some level of, it will be called a shagig. Shagig, by the very definition, means there was some level of cognizance and then he forgot. So havla yediyah. And therefore, he is chayiv. Linian Shabbos, Linian Shabbos potter. Again, it all has to do with kavana. Linian Eved, plugged to the Rashbag v'Rabbanan, as we just saw, the same machlekes, whether the Eved will go free or not. Case number 2 of Rabbah. Case number 3 of Rabbah. Niskavein lizrak beis v'zarak arba. Nostalgic Gemara Shabbos that we learned a few moons ago. So in that intent to throw something 2 amos, and he backs into it 4 amos. What's the halacha now? Says the Braisa, Len yinizakin chayiv, again, because the Maisi did damage. Len yidal dvarim, with regard to whether you pay Sari v'shavs and Baishes potter, of course, because there's no kavan. Len yishavs, with regard to damages done, regard to move the item on shavs, lechzvach shavs binan, and there's no kavana to transfer this item to Alad, which is what you're chayiv for Shabbos. Lenyin galos, what's halacha? Shaloi sadam rachmana, and therefore probably this comes to time is zarik dal, there will be not galos. Lenyin eved, again, look to the Rashbag v'Rabbanan. And the 5th and final case of Rabbah in these clairs of different levels of kavana, of cognizance, says the Gemara, niskavin lizarik arba. This time you had intent to do a full 4 amos of transport, but v'zarak shemaina, and then it damaged. So again, nachamol. Leni nizakin, nothing ever changed. Adam would la'ilam in every single scenario. There's an obligation for nizakin. Leni dal dvarim, similarly, nothing's changing. There's a patur, because you don't pay sari b'shavs and baishes, unless there's kavana. But Leni in Shabbos, what's the story of Shabbos over here? You did have intent to move the item 4 amos, you just ended up doing it more. So what's the halacha? Says the Gemara b'Aimer, if he says kol makish atirta tanuach in, then it'll be chayiv iloi, because then he never had intent for where it landed if he didn't say that, and therefore it'll be potter as he didn't have intent to do an akira nacha in this fashion. Lenin galos asher lotzida pral and iskavin lizik arba v'zarak dalid lenin evin achma plugta tereshbag v'Rabbanan. 5 different scenarios of levels of cognizance which Rabbah rules on. And now one last din of Rabbah, ve'omar Rabbah. About 10 lines from the bottom, first one line is ve'Rabbanan. Zara kli meirosh hagag. Someone throws a kli off a roof, uba'acher v'shavrai, and someone else comes and breaks the kli b'makol, takes out his baseball bat, smashes the kli. What's halacha pater? Why? My taima, mana tvira tavar. The guy that smashed his baseball bat is breaking a broken item because it was going to fall and break anyways. Ve'amar Rabba. And as well, Rabba says, Zara kli meirosh hagag. It repels them blanket, so it wasn't going to break. And then and remove them. What's halacha pater my taima? Because when you threw it, his arrows have stopped, because at that point it was not going to do damage. We'll stop over here. We'll pick it up from Rabbah the next year.